From deep water shark boxing matches to territorial sharks punishing ignorant divers, these are monstrous sharks caught on camera. These first divers are on a razor's edge. Sharks are not evil. They're not malicious. They are extremely effective predators with wildly varying specialties. But of all sharks, the bull shark is the most dangerous and the most willing to devour just about anything it comes across. They aren't pack hunters, but will swarm to overwhelm certain prey. While this situation never goes off the rails and no sharks even show outright aggression, that's only because of the tight control of the divers over this situation. Make no mistake, there is a fine line being walked here. These two divers are staying close together, facing outwards and keeping a clear view of as many sharks as possible. But you can see, as the other diver turns towards the camera, that just that moment of carelessness lures in a large bull shark to within just meters. The camera continues to pan and we realize these divers are surrounded by as many as a dozen sharks. Like wolves, they will continue circling closer in the hopes of catching one of these divers unawares. Thankfully, few sharks will come close if they can tell that you're looking at them and are not scared. Up next is fist fighting a shark. While shark feeding dives are popular for tourists, they are hardly ever ethical. This, however, isn't just a tourist trip, but a dedicated effort to support the bull shark populations in Fiji. So the people involved are trained and experienced researchers and conservationists. This is perhaps the only situation where fist fighting a shark is a good idea. Of course, that's a little bit of an exaggeration. A bop on the nose can actually be a very effective method of controlling a shark's aggression. If you're watching the shark and it tests you, don't let it get away with it. Sharks aren't evil, but they are very curious and they explore with their mouths, which even if not intentional, is definitely not something you want to be on the receiving end of. So a solid bop and a redirect helps the shark understand that you're only there to pass off tuna heads to it. The shark gets it pretty soon. However, this is not a sustainable practice, as it does teach sharks to associate humans with food, which is always a danger. Up next is a territorial white tip. This video is a perfect example of what not to do as a dive group and how to recognize an aggressive shark. The big mistake the group here is making is that of dispersion. This whole dive group is completely strung out across multiple depths and long distances. And hey, I've been there. Sometimes current and circumstances stretch the group out, but in this case it actually allows the shark to enter into the midst of the group, practically ensuring a dangerous encounter. This shark is clearly aggressive and territorial when it arrives. Its pectoral fins get progressively more flexed downwards, indicating aggression, and its initially languid movement changes to rapid bursts and direction changes. White tips, especially large ones in feeding mode, can be highly territorial, but the divers do not seem to recognize the danger and do nothing to ward the shark off or warn each other, which does sadly lead to a pretty nasty injury. Next is a sighting face to face. Picture the scene. You've been craving a fishing trip with your buddies for ages, and you finally find an afternoon to go. You hop in your 22-foot long boat and go mackerel fishing just offshore, and it's a great time until you come face to face with great white death in the water. A shark the size of your boat comes right up to the side and just watches. Now this is certainly terrifying, but even more, it's bizarre. Mostly because great whites need to continue moving in order to keep water flowing through their gills to keep breathing. It could be that this behavior is actually due to prior human interference. This shark may have done this sort of thing before and been fed by an amused fisherman, which really only increases the risk of a negative encounter. Still, since nothing went wrong, this is incredible and awe-inspiring footage. And finally, turning the tables. Hunting can be dangerous, but combine hunting and diving dozens of meters beneath the surface with an injured, struggling fish, and you have a recipe for getting stuck at the bottom of the ocean with a hungry great white circling you. It swims close beside this diver's head and then pivots quickly back to return for another test bite. The shark is thankfully warded off for long enough for the diver to break for the surface, but then he still has to wait for the recovery boat, all while the great white continues passing close by underneath. This is an incredibly stressful situation that almost certainly was made more likely either by these divers returning to this location consistently to hunt, or having already hunted here for some time, luring in the shark. Either way, this situation is avoidable. Thankfully, no one was hurt and the shark did not receive any retribution. Those were 5 monstrous sharks that got caught on camera. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.